streaming to both services.
Yes, Procky, you remembered your shirt.
Yes, but it's not readable. It's mirrored, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Unmirror yourself. Alright, I'm checking services. Do 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 do. All right, checking audio. That's good.
I don't remember Brantley saying any of that.
I should fix my audio. Yeah, I didn't say anything like that. Michael's just crazy. Blames other people when things go wrong. Not seeing the Twitch yet. Give that a second to spin up here.
Should be going.
Come on, Twitcher. Man, do they got a delay or something going on? Come on, Twitch. YouTube is live. Can you try stopping the Twitch and starting it again? Because it doesn't even say that it's picking up any stream stuff.
Yeah, it might stop both broadcasts. We'll see.
It shouldn't if you only do the Twitch one.
Okay, try it now.
Come on, Twitch. Well, that's weird. We'll give it a few and see if it comes up. I'm gonna edit the page so it defaults to showing the YouTube one for now. just a moment.
Microsoft folded. They're taking away the upgrade nags.
Haha, you didn't read the article because they're not doing it until they stop offering the Windows 10 update. So it's not until July 29th. So anyway, let's get the show started. Let me post in IRC that Twitch is not Twitch.
So 3 months from now, that's reasonable.
All right, so apparently Twitch is not twitching itself, so we're gonna just recommend watching the YouTube stream. So welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It's the end of another week here, a lovely Friday evening, and we are here to provide support for any of our software or services. So if you have any questions about any of that, feel free to join our IRC and shout that out. We'll talk about them and discuss them live on the air here. And if we're talking about anything else and you have a question about any of our services and software, we will stop what we're talking about and talk about that instead, because that is our primary purpose for this hour. Otherwise, we're going to sit here and talk tech and shop like we would if we were in a live building here. So kind of a look in the day of the lives of. And apparently there's a ton of news because Phoenix has been blasting the IRC with a ton of links there. Michael's thrown out a couple. RTM Tech has PM'd me a few, and I have a few to go off of. So apparently we got lots and lots of random stuff to talk about. I'm going to start it off with something that I found most interesting. So whenever I'm coding, I like to have something just playing in the background to kind of like music, but I usually end up watching DEF CON talks and just listening to those in the background while I'm coding and stuff. So I got a few of those that I want to start off with. This first one is one of the interesting ones. I don't know if it's the most interesting one, but it does have one of the most interesting links that I can talk about in it. So I want to post this one first. This one is called Mass Scanning the Internet, and it's from 2014, DEF CON 22. And essentially, the presenters created a program kind of like Nmap, but with Nmap, you scan a host and it waits for a response, and then it does some other things and checks, and then you finally get to move on to the next host. This mass scanning program, it basically just sends out a whole bunch of requests, and then on a different asynchronous link, it listens for any responses, so it can do a whole lot more, a whole lot faster. So it's pretty interesting. They were able to scan the entire internet in like an hour and a half. So all of the IP ranges of all of IP4, they're able to scan all of them and check for open ports and things like that. Interesting implications of that are you can scan for, say, the VNC port and see how many people have VNC open to the internet with no password even. They had set up a little system, and I think Glenn was the one that had posted it, where you could actually view people's live VNC sessions that they had open and available. But they had a different one set up where they basically scripted, so they pinged out to see if VNC was open. Then they had a script run to check and see if it had a password. If it didn't have a password, then it would take a screenshot and then post it. And they found all kinds of interesting things about that. So quite interesting. They were doing some research on the Heartbleed when it came out and trying to find out what servers and things were affected still. Also interesting that they were getting hundreds of complaints about doing this, because apparently if you just ping an IP address, people get upset. So one of the funny things they did is they had someone, and Glenn, I'm sorry, but someone crazy in Australia, they responded back to, after they sent out an abuse complaint. These people said, hey, we'll take you off the list if you'd like. Just let us know the IP addresses you own, and we'll remove you from the list, and we're doing this for a research project. Apparently, he went crazy and even called them up and was like screaming at them that he's going to call the internet police. So one of the researchers went and registered internetpolice.us and set up a page so that you can file a complaint with the internet police. So I figure if anyone out there is doing anything or just has that customer that they are just upset and tired of, and they're threatening all kinds of things, just give them that address and say, here, file a complaint with the internet police. They'll take care of it if they think you really have a problem. But super, super funny. I'm not sure if he went back and changed it, because originally he had it set up so that this form just didn't submit to anywhere. It just acted like it submitted, and it didn't actually go anywhere. He had mentioned he might change it so that he can actually start seeing the strange requests that he gets to the internet police. So, also interesting to just know that you have to look in and research what sites and things are set up, because essentially anybody can set up a site just like that, and it looks semi-legit actually. So it's kind of funny and interesting. I liked it. Yeah, and Phoenix, that I was going to bring it up, but I wanted to actually fully talk about it when you said Michael being an IRC police. So if you're interested in that software, again, probably not recommended that you mass scan the internet unless you're really good friends with your ISP. But there's the program you can do it with. You can mass scan your network without any issues normally, so you can check that out. But it also has some other nice functionality where you can test your server, your firewall capability of being flooded and things like that. So definitely recommend watching that talk. It was actually really entertaining listening to them talk, and some of the things they found was actually pretty scary, because people think that just because they own an IP address and they don't publicly advertise it, that no one should know about it nor be able to scan it. And that's just not the case. I mean, there's only so many IPv4 addresses out there, so if you want to scan them all, people are going to find out about it. So the other really interesting point that they had in there is one of the flaws they feel about network monitoring, and it still holds true 2 years later, where people are only checking for incoming traffic. They're not really checking for outgoing traffic. Your intrusion detection, snort, and things like that usually are only checking for things that are trying to get into your network. It would probably be even better. Well, either way, you probably should not only be checking what's coming into your network, but also be keeping an eye on and reviewing what's coming out of your network. It is extremely difficult and extremely hard to do, where you set your firewall to not allow anything in or out. Usually they're all configured to allow everything going out and nothing coming in. But it is actually, if you're concerned about security and things getting out, and even being able to block malware and certain ransomware and things like that, you may want to look into going to a whitelist only option, where you only allow things out of your network that you pre-approve and have defined. So Glenn mentions he has Wireshark on the exits of his networks, view the traffic and things like that. And that's good. I would just feel like if you were doing that, you would get kind of data overload from that. So maybe, Glenn, you can talk a little bit more about how you manage that Wireshark logs and outputs and things like that. Yep, and RTM Tech agrees that the outbound traffic on ports should also be monitored and is important. Untangle is good. Any internet gateway besides your regular old consumer router is really going to help with both sides of that, both the intrusion and the out stuff. But most of those also by default are set up to allow everything to go out of your network with little or no impedance. You actually have to go in and say, I don't want anything going in or out without me explicitly saying it to allow it. But then you find out that a lot of programs don't have documentation on exactly what they're trying to do, and that's probably when you would have to fall back to Wireshark to figure out what ports and what addresses places are trying to get out to. So it is hard, and Glenn says he only takes samples and at random times, but usually if he expects or suspects a problem, and I imagine if he keeps those logs, then he's able to filter back a little while too, so you can see how long something's gone on. So, yeah, and Phoenix points out never use a router as a firewall. That's definitely a bad idea. Always have an ASA or a third-party setup. So internet gateway is definitely the route to go. Even ISA for home users, I definitely have one set up. Michael does. Proctor, what are you using, if you want to say?
Some junk that was laying around.
So you're just using a commercial router?
Right now, yeah.
Yeah. So I know Nick's the setup that he got kind of is built for that. So that, what is it, Ubiquity?
Yeah.
UEFI, yeah.
UEFI. So the setup he got is kind of built to be an internet gateway at the same time. So he kind of has that with the commercial stuff. But I mean, basically trusting a Nexus or Linksys or D-Link or TP-Link or any of those is
who the hell is
really
Linksys? Who's Linksys owned by these? I forget these days.
Cisco.
No. They are not. I don't believe they're sold by somebody else.
Cisco
Linksys. Yeah, Cisco sold them off. Let's see when the Wikipedia was updated.
After selling Linksys, Cisco aims to reach consumers. So it does.
When it was part of Cisco, in 2000, sold to Belkin, the current owners, in 2013. It was sold to Belkin in 2013.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a Belkin router now.
Oh, that's terrible.
So that either means that Linksys really sucks now, or Belkin routers are better.
Well, Cisco was apparently able to improve the product, and if Cisco couldn't improve the product, that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah. Well, I thought that
selling cheaper solutions. I think they're just doing their own thing.
We need to stay more up to date. This happened in 2013. I totally missed this.
Well, I think that Cisco actually did good. Like Linksys routers actually kind of came back after Cisco took over. So I think it helped.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that it helped Linksys.
So some other chit chatter there, but let's move on to a different one. So this was another interesting DEF CON talk. It's called Girl Fault Interrupted. And no, it's not just interesting because it's a girl hacker talking, which you don't see many DEF CON talks like that. But it's interesting because of what she talks about, and really how she came about finding out about this, which I found out about it just from this talk because I didn't know these things. I mean, I may have had an idea that these things existed, but I didn't know that they were actually required and regulated and things like that. But essentially, she was blow drying her hair one day, and a friend had wanted to talk with walkie-talkies, and she ended up hitting the the call button on the walkie-talkie while she was blow drying her hair, and the call signal that went out actually ended up tripping the breaker that was in her hair dryer, and that's actually a GCI, I believe, or GFCI,
GFI.
or
GFI.
yeah, ground fault indicator or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So those are ones that are required for for things that are around water or potentially outside. And then there's another one that's for regular rooms and things like that. Proctor, do you happen to know what that one is called?
No.
So yeah, there's a whole separate one that's for like rooms, like your bathrooms and stuff would have the GFIs, your kitchen would have the GFIs, anything outdoor would have the GFIs, but in your regular rooms, like your bedrooms and living rooms and sunrooms, they have a different one, and it acts a little bit different. But really, really interesting stuff. And I mean, the whole talk was essentially about how she found out that a walkie-talkie can essentially set those things on fire. So kind of a vulnerability there. If you point a walkie-talkie at someone's house, you could trip what is supposed to prevent fires and actually set fires with it. So kind of interesting there. Highly recommend checking it out and listening to that. It was a pretty good one.
Did you have a link on that?
Yeah, the one I posted below Phoenix's VPN device, tiny hardware firewall.
I got it.
Michael, we talked about the Iron Man laser yesterday as well.
So right now,
if you paid attention while you were on the show, you'd know these kind of things. Phoenix posted another link here. You don't have to. I mean, I talked about it for a little while, so. Yeah, that I've seen that. Don't DOS me, bro. Is a pretty good talk as well, so you can check that one out. These next couple ones where I was really hoping to tell Nick about them, but I'll have to remind him because he's visiting the mother today. But these were pretty interesting ones on the back end of Windows and program management, and I would actually recommend everyone that fights malware and deals with these kind of things to check these 3 videos out. Pretty interesting topics, and probably my favorite one is this one that I'm about to post, where my life is a spyware developer, and that one was actually back from DEF CON 18, so more than a few years ago. And it talks about using ADS and a lot of other things about why antivirus might fail, and just it is a really, really interesting talk. But both of those are kind of interesting to see kind of how Windows can be used against itself to attack things. So quite interesting there. The last talk I wanted to post here is extremely interesting one, especially with all the recent revelations. This one was back from 2013, and it's Backdoors, Government Hacking, and the Next Crypto Wars. And it essentially describes exactly what's going on right now with the Apple encryption FBI battle that's going on right now. And it basically is like, look, these things have been going on for years. It's only going to get worse into the future, and now we are in that future. So quite interesting to see a past perspective on what we're looking at right now. One of the groups he even talks about, we are all probably very familiar with after they themselves got hacked and their data got leaked. He talks about the hacking team in there. So really, really good video, and it's done by one of the guys that works with the ACLU. So really, really well done. Highly recommend checking that one out if you're interested in those kind of things. But it really does give you a nice, interesting perspective on the encryption battle and where things are at and how they got to where they are and where they're probably going to continue to go in the future. So, oh, that's cool. Glenn said he created a light show on a fence using a 400-watt VHF radio. So that's awesome. RTM Tech had posted a whole bunch of links to me as well. This was the one that I thought the most interesting that we could talk about and funny at the same time. So apparently, the NASA is preparing or hints at preparing to tell us all that aliens exist. There's not really a whole lot of sources in that article, and it does seem kind of more like one of those. Is it the Inquirer that you see at the grocery store?
Yeah, the tabloid.
Yeah, the tabloid. It kind of seemed like one of those, but at the same time, I can kind of see how it might actually be legit. So, what are y'all's thoughts on alien life, and if the government's been hiding that for some time for public safety reasons?
I think that it's very probable that life exists elsewhere in the universe. I think that the government probably would try to cover it up if they knew about it. But at the same, I think that alien life capable of traveling the distances required to get here would probably be pretty good at covering
is
up
this
their
what
own
you're
existence if they wanted to.
Okay, so yeah, see that's the thing. They've that story regarding the math, reevaluating the math behind the amount of worlds, but until it's not going to change anybody's minds seeing those figures. If they haven't changed their mind yet, they're not going to change their mind. And so what would have to happen for any of that information to be relevant, the Drake equation or anything else, we'd have to prove it. It's a theory, it's a guess right now. It's never been observed. I mean, it's a great theory, and mathematically it should be quite sound. But I don't think we're measuring all the variables accurately in those equations, number one. And number two, again, people are just by their nature are going to have to see it to believe it.
Well, and that's what would be interesting about the government actually coming out and saying that it exists. And there actually has been a lot of leaked documents and speculation.
That they're prepping us for it to happen?
Well, no, that there actually has been contact made and they're hiding it.
Well,
I released a whole bunch of documents on that stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, I don't. Again, show me how this can impact my life. If it can, because they're either going to keep it hidden.
How could it impact your life?
No, but I mean, right now,
that'll impact a whole lot of stuff.
I know, but people believe aliens exist now. People believe aliens exist now.
They believe people are crazy if people believe aliens exist.
Exactly. So what? The aliens that are here, what are they doing? They're just hiding. The government's keeping them under wraps. They're cloaked. They're non-attractive. For all intents and purposes,
have you seen Men in Black?
Geez. Okay. I'm just saying. When it walks down the street, when we discover it in a ship, when we observe it directly, when we communicate with it, when there's some more evidence. But I just don't like the fact that these types of news stories go on a cycle. It's like, they're likely to be aliens out there. But then, 5 years later, they're likely to be aliens again. 5 years later, there's likely to be aliens out there. Okay, there's likely to be aliens, but how many decades go by before we come to answer that question fully? And the answer is probably never. Because, for all intents and purposes, any discussion of it might as well be talking about something imaginary. Okay. So until that happens, we're never going to reap the benefits of the aliens. So whether they're here or not, just like some other, creatures of the mind that we have, is irrelevant because we can't observe them.
What? I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. I think there will be a whole lot of stuff. Like, I mean, interstellar travel would be one right off the bat.
Again, get me an alien engineer to implement the interstellar drive. Get me an alien.
Michael. If they release the fact, like the reason why we may not have interstellar travel and it's not publicized is because of the fact that they're trying to hide the fact that aliens exist.
Oh, God.
If they came out and said, look, aliens do exist, and hey, look, they have technology to travel interstellar distances quickly, that's how they got here, then that would revolutionize.
So why don't they just have an announcement at NASA? Why don't NASA just have an announcement? Why doesn't NASA just have an announcement and say, hey, our engineers, which are really the aliens, have, guess what? They've developed this super travel. It was done by this engineer.
It's been theorized that they are doing that right now. Like that.
Just slowly? Just really, really, really slowly? Okay.
Yes, so that they can control it and understand how it's going to be used.
Okay. Well, then I don't need to know about aliens if I'm going to eventually get all the technology anyway.
We have enough problems dealing with various different groups and people on this planet. How do you think that people are going to react to beings from other planets?
The only reason they're worried.
That's like the worst thing about it.
The only reason
think about it. The biggest
because it would cause them to lose power.
The biggest conspiracy and most well-known one came less than a decade after we set off a nuclear weapon. So we achieved nuclear power. That's when the whole Star Trek thing where you
so you're not allowed to have a technology boom. So Michael, no culture is allowed to have a technology.
No, please let Brantley finish.
Yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about if you don't let me finish. So if like Star Trek, where you have to reach a certain level of understanding and power before outside life forms will contact you, then it goes within reason that if we set off a nuclear blast, we have nuclear power available, and then within 10 years, a spaceship crash lands on our planet.
Okay. So your theory is based upon Star Trek.
It's based like all science fiction.
The ideas behind aliens contacting new species and sharing technology, all those concepts that are within Star Trek are very
likely. I mean, I like Star Trek too. I like Star Trek.
Like the ideas behind the Prime Directive and
except when have we ever followed the Prime Directive? Okay, when has our nation ever concerned itself with any of that? But the aliens.
That's part of the problem.
But listen.
Yeah, and the aliens that are able and have.
So why are the aliens working with our government? Why are the aliens cooperating with our government? Exactly. What government? Why does our government have control over the aliens? So for what you're saying to come to pass, they'd have to be working together. The aliens and the government are working, and they don't. They've both agreed that you can never let the people know, and the aliens agree to this. They have the same moral judgments on it.
Yeah, because they said, "Hey, by the way, right now, since you landed here, we actually have split bathrooms for the same human race people, just because they're different colors. I don't think they'll take too kindly to you." And they were like, you know what? That's probably right. Maybe we should just slowly introduce our technology to them over time and through subliminal messaging like movies, which movies and television have.
Why do you think the aliens would be here to help us? Why do you think the aliens would go out of their way to help us? Who does that? Who goes? Do we go out of our way to help other people?
Michael, you don't, because you're a terrible person.
Well, as we let's say
you can apply some human principles
if
to aliens.
Aliens, even if aliens are not helping us with technology, we're going to continue to develop newer technologies, and at some point, if interstellar travel is possible, we're going to do it. They probably want to know. They probably want to have a relationship with us before we develop that type of technology.
No.
For a number of different reasons.
There's no reason because it's not going to be.
Why would they even talk to us? Why would they even talk to us?
Michael, there's not any reason they wouldn't talk to you. That's why they don't they have a relationship with the government, and that's what I was about to say. Is they don't have any reason.
Why
to
our government, not any other
broadcast to the
government?
entire world, because someone in their garage is not going to develop
Do you
interstellar
think
travel.
every other government
And situation
does what our government does? And there's other governments in the country. There's no world government. So what makes you think the aliens, again, would
how
just
do you
come
know
to
that
us?
there's not a world government either? It's very strange that the 14 most powerful countries in the world are all working together.
Okay, but even those non-14 countries, what if the aliens went to some African country or some Middle East country and landed there? And
Why would they
spoke to
do
their
that? If
government?
they have interstellar travel, they're probably pretty good at researching.
Well, maybe they want to see
before
what the
they go
other
in.
side thinks. Maybe want to see what the other side thinks. If there's two
Why?
warring factions, why do the aliens just come down and say, "Hey, oh, these are the good guys"? Because I don't even think we're the good guys. Why would the aliens think we're the good guys? Okay, I would proffer up a
They
lot.
don't care about who's the good guys or bad guys. They only care about the people in charge. Just like when if we meet.
So the aliens are totally amoral. The aliens are totally amoral.
If we met an alien civilization, the first thing that most everybody knows to do is take me to your leader. So they want to go to the person that's in charge of everything. They don't care about you, Michael. They have absolutely no care about you at all. You're going to be dust before
You're
they
out of your mind.
care.
Again, this is the same type of Occam's razor, lack of Occam's razor thinking. You're creating a very complicated solution to a problem that you think exists because you believe that aliens are already here. And there's no proof at any of all to its existence. There's nothing you can put down without a shadow of a.
We had a request from the chat to mute Michael, so we're going to move on as well from Phoenix's talk. So I think everybody else agrees with us, and Michael's left because he's pouting. I like that talk. Tank, what is your thought on aliens?
I don't really have a thought. Either they're there or they're not. Either way, they don't affect me right now.
So you're just fine with the situation as is. Do you think there are UFOs, or do you think those people are crazy?
I think they've seen planes flying. They might not know what they are, but I doubt it's been spacecraft.
Well, I like to think that there has, and it is pretty interesting that.
But I hope there's other life out there. I mean, there should be. There's enough room.
Yeah. I think it's incredibly presumptuous to think that we're the only ones there. But I think it would be interesting either way, and from all the stuff that's happened over the past century, I think it's incredibly likely that there could be a big announcement. But let's see what NASA comes out with. So, I mean, we do still have people on the planet that believe that the Earth is flat and that NASA never went to the moon. So that may be also why they don't want to come out to the public.
Well, maybe one of the reasons that NASA stopped sending up the space shuttle was because we may not need to.
Exactly. Like we stopped doing that, and then we have a computer revolution. Like all of a sudden we start having all of this great technology coming to us in just the past 50, 60 years. That's pretty coincidental. But I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. RTM Tech did have a bunch of links thrown up here too. So he points out that Oculus lost its display guru, and not good for a company that just released their product here. He did post another interesting YouTube video of could future devices read images from our brain? And this is one of the things that yeah, that's right, Glenn. This is one of the things that like the science fiction has been pretty heavy on, and I feel like it's something that's realistic. And I feel like that's probably what we should be researching the most is like we really have little to no understanding of how our brain works, and if we start researching that, maybe we can find answers to like how to fix Michael. So
well, we talked about some military technology on a show months ago where the U.S. military is working on an interface between with the human brain.
Yeah, no, actually, they have a couple of those.
Yeah, they
let's
were
see if I
actually
can
taking
find
it to prototyping, I think.
a link to that. Yeah, they have a few of those things out. Trying to see one that's a. Oh, there's a whole Wikipedia on it. Let's see if that has anything here. Yeah, it began in the 1970s. Let's see if they have anything recent. It doesn't look like this Wikipedia has been updated in a while, but looks like in 2012 there was some research about it being done and things like that. But I'm not sure how the mind visualization tech would enhance how we work, but I would just like it because it would be cool to record my dreams and be able to watch them later.
Well, I have a lot of visual ideas in my head that I'm not able to represent outside of my head that would be cool to.
Yeah, that's another. I mean,
I can't draw a stick figure, but I've had pictures of things in my head that I would like to draw out and have, but I'm not able to do that.
Like after you fall in your bathroom and hit your head on the sink and come up with a flux capacitor.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can't draw it out, and that's why you never got to the Back to the Future. So
that's why we have interstellar travel, time travel.
There is a lot of interesting things I think could go on with that stuff, and I would just, like I said, I'd just be interested in being able to see my dreams later, or like Proctor mentioned, having the ability to show someone else what you're conceptualizing is pretty much exactly a good option for that. I just think that overall, like the whole mind needs to be explored more. Like it's probably the most advanced computer interface on the planet, and we have nothing that even comes close to it right now. And I think that would like, imagine if we started to have computers based off organic matter that like fixed itself and had synapses and stuff like that. That I think would be far better than quantum computers. Or maybe even our brains are based off a quantum effect. I don't think we even really know how well that stuff works. So, interesting. Phoenix just posted a new ransomware alert that promises to donate its earnings to charity and claim the socially responsible malware. Well, there was that hacker that was the smiling hacker. He was hung after he stole a ton of money, millions of dollars from banks and then or companies, and then donated it all to charity. And I think Anonymous, didn't they do that as well? They had an op where they sent out they hacked a bunch of places and then donated everything that they got to it from charity, or got from it to charity. So it's not unlikely, and that would be interesting to have a ransomware doing that. Maybe people wouldn't feel so bad about paying the stuff, but hopefully they would still
Robin Hood.
Yeah. Hopefully they would still learn from it, though. So, let's see some of the other links that RTM Tech posted. Vertical lift flying car. Yep, I saw a link about this. Not too interested. These kind of things, like, they're cool, and it's great if someone has a theory or an option or a concept for it. But unless it's becoming mass marketed, I really don't think that there's a lot to talk about, especially when they don't have a video of it like flying or doing anything. Those conceptual designs, like, we're not in VC. We shouldn't be funding these people. Like, other people should be researching and finding out if this stuff is right and getting into it. So RTM Tech also points out that Samsung has a Raspberry Pi-like Arctic 10, and it goes for $150, so quite the price rise from $35. Not seeing a whole lot of tech specs. It'll have a better processor with 16 cores, 64-bit. 15 core. No, 8 cores broken up into 4 ARM processor Cortex A15 cores. Has a better graphics processor. Looks like built-in flash and 2 gigs of RAM. So they definitely did up the specs for it. I'm not sure if it's worth $150, but interesting to see those small device boards becoming more and more powerful. So maybe if they can get that price down a little bit, it'll be more interesting. I also posted about the Microsoft is removing the nagging Windows 10 upgrade notification, but they're not doing that until Windows 10 is not free anymore, which July 29th seems like a little long way away for me. So, let's see what else we got here. So Lenovo has a serious flaw in their support tool. So this is why I would always highly recommend to your customers to offer a full format and reload if they have a pre-set up manufacturer release of the OS. But also, Michael had even pointed out that it might be good to have you and your support staff know that if you see a Lenovo come in, they definitely want to upgrade that tool and make sure all of those things are patched and up to date if they're not already. But honestly, I would kind of feel like that would even be an upsell there to say, hey, you got a manufacturer bloated OS here. Let us format and reload this so that it's clean and ready to start, and you won't have as many problems possibly going forward. Proctor, what's your take on that? Since
I totally agree with you. That has always been my recommendation, is to format those new systems and reload them.
do you do that with a lot of the clientele you get though, or do you just fix a problem and hand it back over?
A lot of times it's just fix a problem and hand it over.
Yeah. So I would probably try to incorporate a way to say, hey, it doesn't have to be done, but it would be really good for you in the future to be done. Plus, you can explain all the bloatware, and with all the documentation about especially Lenovo having so many issues, it's not just limited to Lenovo. They've just been the ones that have been exposed. So all the other brands, I'm sure, have similar issues that may just not have been exposed.
It's kind of a hard sell to get somebody to spend money to reinstall the operating system on a brand new computer.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I'm not fond of is if you refresh Windows 10 on one of those preloaded manufacturer OSs, it reinstalls all that crapware. So you actually do have to get a media and wipe it clean yourself. So just to keep that in mind too. And there you go. Glenn points out if you do a clean install from an OEM machine, create a recovery image to replace the recovery image they have there. So
yeah.
Don't have to type in caps, just use Clonezilla. What? How's Clones what? For recovery images or for
recovery images, I believe.
I don't know. Some of the recovery images I'm thinking of though are the ones that you can have like built onto a partition in Windows. So
Right.
Windows 10 at least can definitely do that. I think Windows 8 can do the same. Windows 7 can do the same, but I think you have to use the DSIM stuff in the develop deployment kit or whatever it's called there. So this is a interesting blog post from Malwarebytes. There's apparently a new ransomware. It's an old ransomware 7 that's now turning to a new ransomware. They've gone through and updated it, and it seemed fairly advanced when it came out, although it was charging 13 bitcoins as its ransom, which 13 times 450 is ludicrous. They've updated it though, and it is what they worried about, that the people behind it are fairly good at what they do, and they've done much better with this new version. And actually, with this new version, I have a feature that I'm going to have to implement in version 8 now, because it looks like they're dropping the executables into the actual user folder itself. And actually, no, we're blocking that one already. But I was thinking about adding the option to block it as well from my documents and downloads folders and things like that. I don't think it will cause as many issues, although if you're trying to run an install from where you just downloaded, you would have to turn that protection off. So, but at the same time, I kind of feel like maybe that's a good thing. But it looks like still the current crypto prevent will even block both of these, because I know we block files inside of the root of the user folder, which is they drop things in the root of the public folder. So that stuff is actually blocked. But it's just interesting to see some of the advancements that they took from the old version to the new version. So good to check that out, but Crypto Prevent is already blocking against it. It just made me think that I should possibly add even higher protection to protect things against like the download folder and things like that. What do you think, Proctor? Would you think protection of like the download
I
folder
think
as
the
far as
download folder might be a good idea. I mean, I've seen stuff launch from there, get downloaded there and launched.
well, and I guess the key there is though you would have to move it out of that folder to actually launch it. So
Yeah, it'll be cumbersome for a lot of users because they won't be able to immediately run things they
stuff
download
right
from the download folder.
It would definitely
Always
be
a
one.
trade-off between convenience and security.
Yeah, it would be one under the maximum protection, but I would probably say that would be a nice option at least if people want to go that route. So
Definitely a good option.
So Phoenix has posted a lot here. Looks like Steve had a piece on his site to recreate recovery partition with Clonezilla, so that's what he was meaning there. Thanks for that, Phoenix. He also believes you can use Easy to Boot, and shows a post from there to add Clonezilla backup restore menu to it. It's good stuff there. Let's go back and see some of the other links. I know he's posted a lot, and I haven't been able to talk about them right off since we were talking about other things. I did see the link about the intelligence report, and Microsoft's actually including cloud data for the first time. So all of their Office 365 and Outlook.com and various things like that, they're now including in their intelligent report, and has some interesting facts and figures in there. Let's see what else we got. We talked about the donating. And in that intelligence report, I believe, is where they found that they see over 10 million cyber attacks per day on its cyber infrastructure. Now, granted, it can be that those 10 million, like about the mass scanner to start off with, people look at those as attacks. So even if you're just pinging an address because you're wanting to see what's there, or if anything is there, they could consider that an attack. So it may not actually be an attack, but just someone from the internet is trying to reach in, which could be possibly bad, or it could be possibly okay. So interesting stuff to talk about there. Let's see, some more of the links he had. He talked about the DOS one. Michael posted that thing.
I have a link about Apple.
I'll go for it.
The title of it is Apple Stole My Music. So if you subscribe to the Apple Music service, in the licensing agreement for that, it allows Apple to download any music that is on your computer and delete it from your computer. Basically what they'll do is the lady in this article explains that she had tons of music that was original, that she wrote it, had it on her computer. They or Apple uploaded it to their cloud, deleted it from her computer, and they changed the file format from WAV to MP3 so that the quality was reduced, and then now they will serve the content back to her. But if she stops subscribing to the service, her data will no longer be available.
Yep. That is ridiculous.
Extremely ridiculous.
Any company that deletes stuff of mine, I am not using, which that's also why I've never been a fan of iTunes. Honestly,
I've never liked the iTunes software. I don't like their service.
Anything that requires me to use iTunes, I'll find an alternative, because that is a ridiculous piece of software. They trash music libraries. Like, it's beyond ridiculous. I didn't even know at the time that they were deleting the files, but now that it's come out, they've actually been doing that for a little bit of time now. It's not something new, but I think since they came out with their streaming service, they've actually been doing that, going in and deleting files. I know that there was another report where somebody had said that they immediately disconnected from Apple and canceled their subscription when it happened to them over a year ago. So it's not something new that they've been doing, but now it happened to someone that, like, her original content is now no longer available. That's like if you install Microsoft Office and all the documents that you'd written in text files, it copies them all to the cloud, puts them in DOC format, and deletes all your text files. That's just crazy. That there's no reason that software or software as a service should be doing that. Insane.
Yeah, one of the examples she gave was if you watch the movie Taxi Driver on Netflix, Netflix doesn't come to your house and steal your DVD.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what it's like. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's and Phoenix likes Spotify. Honestly, I like Google Play Music. They also give you the option to upload your music to the cloud, which I don't believe Spotify gives you that option. It's a limited number of stuff that you can upload to the cloud, but they don't delete it afterwards. So, and honestly, I actually found Google Play's music content to be more enjoyable and accessible than Spotify. I used to really like Pandora, but it kind of came to my attention that they were playing a lot of the songs over and over again, kind of like they're getting paid per song play. So I'm not a fan of Pandora as much anymore. I still will do it every now and then because they do have a good randomizing radio style, so I like that. But I've honestly, the Google option, especially with the family one, and the fact that you get YouTube Red with it, so no advertisements on YouTube, just by signing up for their music service, it's worth all of the subscription service that I have. I have 2 of my accounts on it and Johnny on it, so I only am using 3 users out of my 5, but it's worth $15 for that amount, I feel. Plus, you get the YouTube stuff with it for free, so I don't see how that's a bad thing at all. And I thought they had increased it from 20,000 songs.
Up to 50,000.
I do pay for Google Play. $15 is for the family option, and you get 5 user accounts can be signed up for it. The key thing to think about, though, is each of those user accounts you sign up for, it has access to the main account's credit card to use in Google Play Store and apps. So keep that in mind. They did that because they don't want you giving it out to all of your friends and you 5 splitting that $15. It is a family plan, not a friend share plan. But their basic service is $10, and again, you get all the same benefits, just one account, but you also get YouTube Red and all that stuff with it. So, pretty cool. And yeah, they updated their cloud storage to 50,000 songs now. So you can actually upload 50,000 of your own MP3s, and they'll try to identify it and classify it and all that stuff for you, and then also base that on your random music listening taste and radio and stuff like that. So it's pretty awesome. I really enjoy Google Play. I've been using it for over 3 years now, and I was on Spotify for a year before I got off of it and went to Google Play. So very possible Pi may have a music server. I would think that you'd probably be using OpenElect or something like that for it, and then using one of the other streaming services, as the Pi is basically just an interface for it. So yeah, and Glenn uses a terabyte drive and Winamp for in-house, and you can still do that. That's what I like about Google Play, is you can still do that, but then you have access to that music outside of your house. So if you have your cell phone with you, you can just pull up a track that you like and that you know you have at home, and you can play it through the cloud. So they don't steal all of it. You don't have to use it for your bandwidth stuff too either.
Yeah, that was another issue with Apple, is that they're uploading your music, deleting it from your device, and then the only way you can access it is if you have a Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, and that's pretty crazy. So yeah, I'm not fond of companies taking my data and doing what they will with it.
Not at all.
I prefer me keeping it and allowing them to have access to it if I want them to, but not taking it from me.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at our hour time limit. Did anyone else have anything interesting or extra to add up there? Sorry, Phoenix, I didn't get to all your links there. I am going to post them in the description for the YouTube and on our blog post, so people can check them out there. But otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up for today, unless Proctor, Tank, y'all have anything else, or anyone in the IRC chat have anything you want to point out specifically?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Awesome. Well, I do want to again thank you all for being in the chat and being here. Y'all definitely make this far more interesting and worthwhile. I apologize for you having to listen to Michael rant and throw a tantrum and pout and leave, but he does add some flavor to the show, so we missed him for the last half of the show. But otherwise, we'll be back on Monday morning at 8 a.m. So you want to join us then, or if you have any questions about our software support, we'll be here for that hour to talk about that. And otherwise, we hope to talk to you all next week, and hope you all have a good weekend. And take us on out, Proctor.
All right. Happy Mother's Day to all of our mothers.
Oh yeah, that too. If you have a mother.